Hey everyone, welcome back to the lab. In this video, we're going to be talking about generating full stack project ideas with F# in my newest project, FullstackProjects.xyz. So I build a lot of projects and participate in a bunch of communities with others who like to build too. Now, over time, I've built many different systems to help make these creation cycles go smoothly, from avoiding build traps to prioritizing project ideas to running meetings effectively. Because, this is what I like to do, so I want to get things out of the way so that I can actually do them. Yet the most common problem I see from people who say they want to start building projects and haven't yet, is that they just never actually start. And so none of these systems that I built to help me do these things efficiently actually help them because these people haven't started doing it. And now my hypothesis about this is that it's mainly a self-imposed block similar to writer's block. People are waiting for the perfect project idea or the perfect time in their lives or the perfect mood when they're feeling like building to actually get started. And so they never actually get started because there actually is no perfect scenario to do anything. And so that's kind of the basis of this project. And so, the summarized hypothesis around this is that, lots of people want to build projects or say that they want to build projects. But the problem is that a significant portion of them are blocking themselves on the perfect idea, which doesn't really exist. And to be fair, there's probably a large subsection of these people who don't actually want to build a project idea, but they just keep saying it because that's what they feel like they should be doing. But there's no helping them. So this is just for those that actually do want to do it, but they're kind of just waiting on that perfect idea. And so my solution for this is to basically just provide easy access to ideas or inspiration to give them permission to start. And this is usually the way when we're thinking about writer's block. How do you unblock writer's block? You literally just start. You sit down, you give yourself some time, and you just force yourself to do the thing. And you can often just start these sessions by coming up with a list of 5 ideas and just choosing one. You have to do one of them. And that's a pretty easy way to do this. And so that's kind of what this is for, but for projects. And so specifically my current solution for this is FullstackProjects.xyz. It's an MVE or minimum viable experiment, which is my better version, my improved version of minimal viable product. To see if project idea and inspo in this form is useful to people. All right, let me show you what this looks like currently. So we're at FullstackProjects.xyz. This gives you some ideas, and it's basically just a list of ideas that are generated by combining lists of companies and well-known brands with kind of nouns or audiences that they could be targeting. And so obviously a lot of these ideas are kind of shoddy, like what is Dell Computers for Lies or Planet Fitness for Lunches? And so it's not very specific or curated, but when you think about how people describe companies that are new, you kind of use heuristics. And so it's this is Uber for dogs. So that's kind of what we're going here is the very core thing that might be useful here to provide those inspirations. And so you provide 5 at a time. You can generate new ideas like this. And you can see how fast this is. Wow, HTMX, interactive island right here. And that's basically the idea. Get you unblocked by giving you a few ideas and then you just choose one and run with it. And so yeah, we created this by just combining a large list of companies and nouns. I just went and pulled a bunch of them, created a list, static list in code, and then I just combined them on hit. And this is largely how, we used to do generative outputs before AI. Back in my day, I was like a generative artist, and this is how we would do procedural generation. This is how we get all the outputs and stuff. And of course, most of these outputs aren't very useful, but actually finding ideas is not about having good ideas every time, because that's just impossible. Really finding good ideas is about having a mountain of ideas. Most of them are going to be bad. That's just the way it is. And then you just pick out a few that are better than the others. And that's how you find good ideas. And so that's kind of the idea of generative outputs. And so kind of what we did before AI. And, honestly, going forward, if you really think about what LLMs are doing, what AI is doing today, it's doing the exact same thing, right? The more we train it on, let's say, bad ideas, the more it can pick out the best things from those, and therefore the better its ideas are that it presents to you. And so I think this idea has a lot of merit because that is how inspiration ideas are made. Although, of course, I think that the implementation is not quite there. It's not minimum delightful experience. But that's kind of the point of MVEs is can we give you a bad experience and you still use it? That's how you know it's a pretty decent idea. So anyway, that's my rant on that and kind of where it is right now. All right, how it's built. So, I like to build the simplest thing possible to start in such a way that it can grow if needed. And I would consider this a seed and how I think most concepts grow in real life. And so we're using Cloudseed, my F# project boilerplate, for this to get a very simple web page up and running. This is an MVE. The whole point of an MVE is to do the simplest, stupidest thing fast, so you can get early feedback and kill it or move on. And so Cloudseed's my implementation of the HAM stack, which is my philosophy around building simple scalable systems on the web today. And so it makes it very easy to get started here, but also it can grow into something that I would consider a very good architecture at basically any scale. Now for the front end, we're just doing server-side rendered HTML and HTMX with Tailwind and Daisy UI for styling. Really like this version of building web. And I have like a ton of different deep dives into this stuff that I've done in the past several months. In particular with this build, I'm playing around with building more reusable front-end components for me so that I can build faster, things like nav bars, things like grids of cards, stuff like that, that as I build projects, I want to build up a library of these so that the next projects that want to use stuff like this can do it, that much faster and easier. The next thing is styles. I use, Tailwind and Daisy UI, which is so much better in my opinion than a lot of the other frameworks out there. But I really like black styles and kind of like the way that Twitter dark mode is, like it's all black, YouTube all black. But there aren't many styles out there that quite do this right. And so I'm experimenting with this because I think this is where I want my projects and probably where my website styles to go in the future. The backend should be very familiar by now. I'm using F# Giraffe, rendering HTML with Giraffe.view engine. Really like this, especially with HTMX. You get some more type safety in there through F#, so that's great. For a database, it's not needed right now. I really just have two static lists. We're doing this dumbest thing possible for MVE. But when I do, I'll just use Postgres. Postgres is my go-to, which I think I've talked a lot about here in the past, so that shouldn't be a surprise. One interesting change is that for hosting, I'm trying out serverless containers on Railway, kind of as an alternative to DigitalOcean and Google Cloud, which is what I've been running on for the past several years for serverless containers. I'm still pretty new with them, and I only really just found out they existed via some forums recently. So it's too early to give a definitive report on how I like this or any kind of recommendations, but so far it's going smoothly. So I'll probably report back on that when I have more information. So yeah, this is my MVE for Full Stack Project Generator, and I have a few ideas for features that I want to play with. I'm thinking things like some ranking, some voting, let's get some AI in here to do some sort of like filtering and fleshing stuff out. A lot of interesting ideas that I want to play with that I'll probably build a few of them, and then depending on interest, might invest further or just shut it down and move on to the next thing. So yeah, let me know if you have any comments or suggestions or criticisms about these things. That's kind of how I like to iterate. And if you like this post, you might also be interested in why you should choose HTMX for your next base side project and why I like to use it for most of my web-based side projects these days. You might also be interested in the HAM stack, a simple scalable tech stack for building modern web apps fast and cheap. And finally, might be interested in how I got interested in F# and why I'm basically trying to build as much as I can in this language. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.